Good morning, everyone. It's been a long time since I wasn't back online with a new video. It's partly due with some personal stuff going on in my life. I changed flat, moved to a new location, changed job, so there's been quite a few things going on. Today I'm back with a video on different topics. As a guns today, I will feature the revised Mod 0 that was featured in some other videos, and I will compare it a bit to the Mod 1, so to speak, that was also featured in some other videos. Then I would also like to spend some time on the new political situation for gun owners in Europe, which is not good. And yeah, without further ado, let's start with the guns that I have here on the table. As you probably know, if you've seen some of my videos, I'm a big fan of the whole MK18 thing, you know. For the aficionados, you probably also already know that currently there are two versions out, or rather, the mainstream marketing builds follow two basic versions. One would be the old school model, which is the so-called Mod 0, which looks a bit like this. What's special about the Mod 0? Well, it was one of the first, let's say, 10.3 how do you say, AR-15 based platforms in use by US Special Forces. There were some in Vietnam that were already short, like the Cold Commando and stuff, but on a sort of industrialized base with all of the accessory package, this is the real deal in terms of SPRs. I have changed some things on my setup since the last time you probably saw it. I now have a Colt lower, semi-auto lower, called M4, you can see it, which is quite cool. I like to sort of paint the roll marks in white, so it has like a better visual contrast. The Colt M4 lower is probably, I'm not so sure if it's 100% compliant, so to speak, with the marketing Mod 0 build that was used back in the days. However, just for my personal taste, it looks really nice, and since I do have a Colt upper mounted on this, the Colt lower makes a lot of sense, and that's quite a nice touch of style. The Knight's armament front part is also sort of finished and compliant with the real deal version. And yeah, I really like to take this to the range quite often, I have to say. It's a bit, I mean, compared to like plain AR-15 like the Colt SP1 that I also have and was featured in another video, this one feels quite heavy, okay? Not heavy, too heavy, but you could definitely, even though it's a lot shorter, it has a lot of extra weight to it, probably, due to all of the junk that I have on it. But still, definitely lighter than some of the other SBRs I have, the piston guns, mostly. And therefore, really one of my favorites. Also, it was one of the hardest to build, sourcing all the parts, even though it's not complete yet, as some people are always so smart to figure out in the comment section. I miss a lot of original parts, like the QD plates and the QD plates, the end plate, the special one, and this kind of stuff. I figured at this point it's, visually it wouldn't really change a lot, so I don't care about being the first best one in the forums to have the most compliant version. I'd say visually and at the range it doesn't get any better than this, so I'm really happy about how it turned out. I run it suppressed most of the times because it's really loud. Has some downsides, comes at a cost of cleaning the whole afternoon, all the internal parts, but it's all part of the gun experience, so at the end of the day, who cares? Brother of the Mod 0 is the Mod 1, for which I now have one of this really skinny cardstocks, which I also which was a bit tough to find. One that fits, hardly, it's hard to believe, I know. I like the design. I like the looks of this. This one is a lot. It feels lighter. Depends on what optics I mount on it. With the Alcan, it tends to be almost as heavy as the Mod Zero, but otherwise it definitely feels lighter. I don't use this one that much, although actually it's really cool. Now with the new stock, I haven't tried it. Before I was using the normal M4 stock with the Alcan. Now I mounted EOTech on it with this car stock. I like the design a bit better now, the looks of it. So I figured out I'm gonna bring it to the range next time and use it in this configuration. The Mod 1 doesn't give me that many satisfaction when it comes to sort of build difficulty. Most of the parts you can buy, I mean, the upper receiver, I got it from Daniel Defense as a whole unit. So it is a 10.3 inch barrel, which is sort of compliant with the original, I guess. The rail, the FDE rail, the real dark FDE rail actually was included. So, you know, doing the same for the Mark 18 Mod 0 would not be anywhere as easy as it's with Daniel Defense, where you can, it's just sort of like a one-stop shop. The lower is from LMT, good quality, nothing really out of the world. Yeah, the Night Surrounding sights are a bit more difficult to get your hands on, especially if you live in Europe, especially if you want an original set. Although there are some good options also from Eratac, which look quite similar and are just as good. So it really depends how much time you want to wait to get your hands on the Night Surrounding version. I currently have a light mounted from B&T. Nothing special, I just wanted to try it. It doesn't look as tough and as durable, but for the applications I have in my life, it's okay. The EOTech, many people say that sort of it's not that good, that it can break. There was a small controversy, but keep in mind that my primary sort of workplace is not a battlefield but an office. This is totally fine, so I don't plan on getting rid of it. It's probably gonna work out in the circumstances that I usually shoot with. Which one do I like the most? As said, honestly, for what concerns just pure collection satisfaction, historical background, and looks, probably the Mod 0. The Mod 0 is it's just too hot as a gun, honestly. There are, you know, you talk about HK416, all this cool stuff, but the Mod 0 just has something special to it. There is probably it has something to do with the front side post and the cutout interior side with this Mark 18 with this endpoint in the middle. That definitely is just so iconic. It's impossible to not know. You know, whenever you see a gun in a movie that looks sort of, it has the, you know, it's an SBR and has, you know, short barrel, front side post and optics, you definitely recognize that it's gotta do with something with the Mark 18. Nowadays, well, it was also featured in the movie American Sniper. They were using it for CQB applications. So people, maybe it's getting a bit more mainstream with time. It's also probably not the most useful gun nowadays for CQB applications, given that you have, when you run this gun suppressed, it definitely has some drawbacks on the life of the internals, as well as on the reliability. If you're perhaps looking to use it on extended applications suppressed, you may need it to clean it a bit more often. Perhaps not. I haven't tried it myself, of course, since I'm not in Afghanistan, but on average afternoon shooting 200, 300, 400 rounds maybe. Wow, you're looking at quite some cleaning time on this one. Yeah, this one pretty much the same. It doesn't really change a lot. You have the same headaches when shooting suppressed. It's just symptomatic of, in general, all of the SBR direct impingement guns. So, you know, whether it's a mil-spec gun coming out straight from Hollywood or just a random ass build, if it's direct impingement, if it's an SBR, if you run it suppressed, you're looking at some fun time. What else do I have in the pipeline? In terms of SBRs, the next cool thing that's coming out is likely the a limited edition MR223. You probably know that I already have the A3 version in FD, but I'm trying to get my hands on the French limited edition version, which is quite awesome. 11-inch barrel, original HK416F furniture. Even the gas plug is original, non-adjustable. That said, the original is indeed non-adjustable, and so does the replica for the civilian market. Price for HK standards, quite good. Honestly, I was surprised. The lead times, unfortunately, is horrendous. We're talking about 6 months, so perhaps you can have a review on it in 2018. Hopefully not, but probably yes. So, we're almost in October 2017. What's in the pipeline for us gun owners here in Switzerland and broadly speaking in Europe? I have mixed feelings about the whole firearms directive. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still think Brussels should mind their own business and do what they do best, that is just burn tax money. But at least they should, we should minimize collateral damage, so they should not be allowed to do anything that really affects our daily life, especially for what concerns security aspects, like guns. Having said that, these guys are paid to do something, and when there's nothing to do, they get bored and do something stupid, like little kids. The EU directive probably is their right answer to an important question, which is terrorism. Unfortunately, the question is the wrong one, and the answer, even worse. To avoid terrorism, because we let millions of people come to Europe without a passport, which just wreak havoc. To avoid this kind of terrorism, taking legal guns away just seems as logic as fighting, as throwing gasoline on fire. It just doesn't make any logical sense. To fight the problem at the core, you should just push back all of this Somali and Afghani and fake Syrian that are flowing in by the millions. Like this, there will probably not be any issue with terroristic attacks, Islamic attacks, Muslim extremism, and all of these fantastic achievements of modern governments in 2017. But yeah, this fantastic cultural enrichment is here, and they are here with us now. So the government says to make our life more secure, you just take guns away. Interestingly enough, this has also affected Switzerland, which is not in the European Union. And I'm starting to get really pissed about this, because for the only good things about the European Union, Switzerland never gets an advantage out of them. That is, for instance, roaming for cell phone. Okay? European citizens from any country can just surf with their mobile phones whenever they are at good prices. Switzerland, strangely enough, does not have this advantage, but we do have all of the advantages. For instance, the gun legislation, which affects us by the back door called Schengen, Dublin. One is the agreement on free movement of people, so to speak, where you don't need your passport to go to Germany. What an advantage. Who wants to go to Germany in the first place? I'm joking. So the fact that this directive affects Schengen Dublin members affects also Switzerland, even though it's not in the European Union. And the coolest thing is Switzerland didn't even have a vote on this, because it could not debate on it in the European Parliament. Now, here is where it gets a bit, the plot twists a little bit. Apparently, our amazing foreign minister, justice minister, Sumaruga, managed to pull off something called Lex Helvetica, which is Latin for Swiss law, which is a special clause in this directive that allows Switzerland to deviate marginally or significantly, we don't know yet, from the directive and keep some of our traditions. For instance, the one that allows Swiss soldiers to keep their military firearm after service. I have mixed feelings about this. The problem with the European directive on firearms is that it sort of reclassifies a lot of weapons from semi-auto like this to prohibited weapons. And the criteria which trigger such a reclassification are a bit blurry. They are somewhat clear on a general level, but it's possible for the states to interpret this in a different way. Plus, Switzerland has a special ad hoc clause on this. Therefore, I'm not quite sure how it's going to play out. But the most concerning thing is that above, in general, SBRs would be prohibited, like the SIG 553, because it's shorter than 60 centimeters. Magazine with more than 10 rounds are per se prohibited, and if a gun works with this magazine, it's also reclassified. So that doesn't really make a lot of sense, because obviously these laws were made by people who barely know how to put a triangle in a triangle, like the apes. Therefore, probably when national governments will have to drill down and square the circle on this directive, we're gonna see how it's really gonna play out and what problem will it cause in day-to-day life. Because if all of this, 30-round magazine will soon be treated as prohibited firearms, they'll be on the same level like a machine gun in Switzerland. So, and getting the permits for a machine gun requires you to go through a bit more paperwork, and is already reserved for collectors that sort of satisfy some special standards. But of course, a machine gun has a high price. There are not many of them out there, and it can be traced by means of serial number. Whereas this one is this big, has no serial number. I can put it, maybe I even lose it. There's one underneath my couch. 2 years down the road, something happens. The cleaning lady finds it. What next? So obviously, the real life impact of this directive is to be seen, and the added value foreseeably very low, especially because of the impact it will have. Because terrorists are now using trucks or everything else to just achieve the same purpose of terrorizing people. So I'm not really sure how this bureaucratic monster would really help us in our daily life when you're sitting at a cafe and a van comes with, screaming Allah Akbar and driving over you. But yeah, we all know how politicians think and work. So obviously you can imagine that I'm not really thrilled about these events on the horizon. Let's see how it plays out here for what concerns Switzerland, which used to have, or for now still has, some quite liberal firearms